Hey, this is Tony.
This is Paul coming at you from the Friends for Life podcast.
And we're go.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Friends for Life podcast here on YouTube. If you can, go down below, hit that subscribe button. Tonight, we welcome special guest Lisa Combs. She is the Service and Support Advisor for the Ohio Association of County Boards, and we really dive deep into the topics of developmental disabilities here in Ohio, going all the way up to the state level, and Lisa does clarify a lot of issues that are currently going on. And we also talk about the film festival that they are running, which is an awesome opportunity for people with disabilities to share their story, and it's really, really an awesome thing that they're doing for our community. So let's dive right into it. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Friends for Life podcast. Hey. We're welcoming Lisa Combs today. Thank you for coming.
Lisa.
I hope I pronounced your last name right.
Yeah, you did, Lisa Combs. They're right. That's right.
Nailed it.
It's been said wrong, that's for sure.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, thank you. We're in the middle of a winter blizzard, and it's going extremely well.
Cold enough for you?
Mm-hmm. My husband left me this morning for Florida. He said, that's it, I'm out. So here I am. I had a podcast to do, so.
Yeah, this is way more important anyway than going to Florida, so I don't know what you're thinking.
Who wants Florida when you have us?
Beautiful.
12, 18 inches of snow. It's great.
So to get started here, why don't you tell everybody a little about yourself, your career, your job, and you know how you got involved with the disabilities community?
Oh, awesome. I would love to. I'm old.
She's lying, everyone. She's
really
like 22.
Old. I've been around for a while. I actually graduated from the University of Toledo with speech and hearing therapy as my major because I was going to, have summers off, work with those cute kids that don't know how to say their R's and their S's the right way. And
I probably would have been there.
Yeah, it was all going to be good. It was going to be a school setting and everything. And then lo and behold, the first job that I got offered, the only job that I got offered, was working for the Lucas County Board of Developmental Disabilities with folks with, at that time we said profound and severe disabilities, that were going to a school in their building. And so I was going to be the speech. They didn't call it speech therapist because none of them had speech. They called it the language development specialist. So I was supposed to develop language in folks that didn't have speech.
That sounds complicated.
It was a little overwhelming. I was a little scared. I was 23 years old and had really had no positive interactions with people with disabilities prior to that.
Wow.
So I had a couple negative interactions. Wasn't really the kindest teenager.
Gotcha.
It was an eye-opening experience. But so I did that for a couple years, and then the schools closed down, and they said, we're not having special schools anymore. People are going to go to public schools, and I'm really proud that Lucas County was a county in Ohio that believed in integration and inclusion, and so they started moving me around into different jobs because I was too lazy to just go get a real job. So I worked in eligibility there. I actually worked as a transition specialist. I went out to the public schools and saw how people were doing, those students that left the school program, and then I'd worked for them for about 10 years, and had 2 children, and was pregnant with my third, and he was born and came out in not the normal fashionable glory that my other children had.
Gotcha.
It was a prolonged, terrible experience, and ended up actually being born with a chromosomal abnormality called Prader-Willi syndrome. And that was 22 years ago. So I got to experience life and disability from in the house, not just for work.
Yeah.
And that was really life-changing. It was really different. I stopped working for a couple of years, about 7. And
wow.
Yeah, I was like, decided to have another baby. So that was some 4 altogether. Once he got back in school, I'd like to say I was really proud. I wanted to go back and give back to the community, but actually my husband took a huge pay cut. His company went bankrupt, and I needed a job. So I called my old friends at Lucas County Board of DD again and said, I haven't done anything for 7 years. And they said, oh, great. We have a job for you as a children's SAS or SSA, as they call them across the state. So, I took it not knowing what I was doing at all, going from, nothing. And that's kind of when I don't know if I met you in my adult work. I think it was actually I worked in the
adult, yep.
Yeah, so I was a children's SSA for 5 years. And then I went back into eligibility again because I love eligibility. I love meeting people, hearing their stories, and helping them figure out what's in the community. That's kind of what I love. And then the adult case manager, SSA unit, decided that they really wanted me regardless of my own personal desires.
No matter what you say, we want you.
Yeah. So
that's kind of like how my wife is.
It's nice to be loved. I was a little nervous, but I did end up going into the adult unit as an SSA case manager, and got a whole new kind of learning. Learned of everything that I thought I knew, but really didn't know. And so it was nice. I stayed right in front of my son. My son, when I transitioned into the adult case management unit, I think my son was like 16, maybe 14 or 15. But so I was able to kind of like find out what it's going to be like for him and learn about it, and then, be more involved in his transition into adult life. And then a year ago, right before COVID, I was kind of recruited by the Ohio Association of County Boards, which is a professional organization that represents county boards and the interest of people across the state with disabilities and the county boards that serve them. And we provide training and advocacy, and we're a liaison with the State Department of DD about rule changes and what the current trends are and things like that. And my job there is called an SSA advisor. So I basically am a resource to all 2,000 plus SSAs across the state now for training, advocacy, whatever they tell me to do. And
which is good.
It's been great.
From what I know about you and the conversations and the times that we spent working together, you're someone to definitely to learn from. And I think your view upon what we do is so broad. It can translate to a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. And you're easy to talk to. You're easy to listen to.
Did I bring you donuts one time?
You did.
I think I did.
You did.
That was really what he's saying. I brought him donuts.
Bring me donuts.
He's like, yes, she's amazing. And she brought donuts because I knew he was mad.
Donuts are the best.
That's the way to do it.
Man, maybe we should start bringing donuts.
Yeah, I almost thought, I was driving here and I was like, oh, maybe I should stop. But I think you were trying to be healthy. You were going to get something. But then when the donuts showed up, you were like, yeah, whatever.
Get all that.
Classic. I do the same thing.
Talking about the gym.
4 children.
Yeah.
One, as you said, has a developmental disability.
Yep.
But what's the lives of your children like right now?
Oh, COVID.
Yeah.
What the heck? Where are we? It's crazy.
Yeah, this is a nutty world.
Oh, man. I will have to tell you that my son, John, with the developmental disability, is probably the least affected by the COVID. I mean, he has just thrived. He's like, this is great. Everything's on Zoom. I don't have to leave the house. He's going to college on virtual world. Yeah, it was crazy. The first 2 or 3 months were crazy. We were 3 out of 4 of them were home, and we were hunkered down, and we were having great quality time, killing each other, and then came about June, July. Everybody was like, "This is not going to continue. We're going to be here forever." So yeah, they started dispersing again, which was great. So it's been good. I mean, I have a college student at Cincy who's trying to figure out how to get what it's like to be a second-year college student during COVID, and I think she's thriving.
That's a plus because there's not very many who are. It looks very confusing.
Yeah, it is. Luckily, she lives with people. She's got a bubble, and she's got a big bubble that she sticks with. So it's been really well. She's managed to handle it well. And my other kids are back in the medical field. I have a doctor and a nurse that are spread out and working, doing their best to keep us all safe, and I'm proud. So I'm real proud of that about it. And my son is thriving. He got a job. he's going to college, he was taking classes as auditing and kind of some special needs programming that they had.
Nice.
But he's been doing so well that we've switched for credit, especially with computer oriented things. And so he's really doing well. So
That's good. What field of work is he in?
Well, so he got a job with a company that does inventory in stores, General Dollar, Family Dollar, all that. They have those little machines, and they have to go scan tags, and then they count, and the items. And so they go within an hour distance to Family Dollars, Dollar Tree, those kind of places. And they go in a crew, which gives a little support to him, which is nice. They all meet up one place, drive together in a crew. And he has, in about 6 weeks, been identified as the most accurate worker ever to be at this place. He has not the speediest, but the most accurate. So they're finding his strengths, and they're going with it, and they have him go back and redo a lot of the recounts that they have to do and check other people's accuracy, because that's what he's really good at. So he thinks he's all that.
Yeah, amen. Look, he's
I have
shining.
the opposite problem. I get things done real fast, so then they're like, "You spelled everything wrong." And
Exactly.
Which is funny. I was looking at our YouTube channel, and he had something. Instead of saying starting, it says stating.
That's me. What
Details,
can I say?
I was like, oh, it's only had a few views. So
That's what spell check is for.
Right.
Why didn't it get caught?
That's what he's here to help me spell check.
Yeah, the wrong person. If you look at any of my last school years of anything, spelling was not my strong suit.
I'm a speller. I can do the spelling. That's me.
See, you'll be the person I'll text something all completely wrong to, and you'll send me back F.
That's what I'll do next time. Just F. There you go.
So with the trainings that you do for the SSAs, what kind of trainings are you giving? Because that's what my wife does for Fulton County. So
awesome.
I was
Great.
curious to see what kind of trainings you're providing.
Yeah. So, what I got known at Lucas County for, and now certainly is my real passion, is really about the philosophy behind, how do we treat each other, disability or not, provider, county boards, and clients, all for the betterment of counties. It's all about relationships, building up people, and finding the strengths that people with disabilities have, the DSPs that are working with them, what are their strengths, and then having that match up. And so, the formal word would be a lot of stuff around person-centered planning, a lot of things. In Lucas County, we called it the good life, which is really about building relationships up with coworkers, people we serve, and the providers that we work with. So I kind of go rogue on a lot of that kind of basic philosophical, how do you, you guys had open future learning on, and that's like my bread and butter. I mean, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, they're amazing. I love everything about them. And so, just kind of getting people thinking about people with disabilities are just people, right? With disabilities. They're just people is that most important thing. So, and that's how I've raised my son, is that every one of us in our family dynamic, out of 6 people, we all have issues. He might have Prader-Willi syndrome. My other daughter, is borderline OCD, and, I am a spaz. I mean, I have ADHD all over the place, right? So, it's not the same for everybody. Consequences are different depending on what people's skills and abilities are and everything. So I've always kind of just been like that, and it's more important to find our common ground between each other than it is to complain and bitch and moan about.
Well,
am I allowed to say bitch?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Okay, good.
But that is a hard thing for like the general population to take in, because we're all working at home now. I hear some of the conversations like through the wall every once in a while that my wife's having, and she'll come and say stuff, having a hard day, like, so this person might go to jail and this and that, and it's like I always like, well, they have a disability, you can't send them to jail, and she's like, yeah, right.
Hell, you can't.
So like that's completely stuff to me. Like, I'm really new to the field, so it's just like hearing stuff like that is crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's like, Everybody has this other view of people with disabilities.
I hate that. Inspiration porn. I hate all that stuff. Like, oh, they're so sweet. And I'm like, they're not sweet.
Do you know some of the problems I've had?
This is not. There are. I mean, I don't want to steal Sarah Milliman, but we all know Sarah. No, there are people with disabilities that are assholes. And families. The whole topic that all parents of people with disabilities are so, these gods because they take. Oh no, I am not a good parent all the time. I am not patient all the time. I am a mess. That is not my thing. So
there was. It's so funny that you say that because there was a very interesting point that you made about DSPs and finding their strengths as well. Mm-hmm. And people don't realize that that is a very tough thing to do. Mm-hmm. You have to group people together. It's almost like Tinder. For the DD field, without the sexual innuendo and stuff. But
I think it's called Coffee Meets Bagel. Have you ever saw that one?
No.
It's not. It's supposedly more friendship based and more professional and interest based than just about Tinder type stuff. So, anyways, yes.
So matching. Once you, I think, find that, it helps. But as you even alluded to as well, the parents aren't always the easiest cup of tea, or the family, or the advocate. We're working with people who are just people. And because I love that's what Chris from Assured Health, how he kind of puts it. It's like we're people working with people for people. And and when you add all those people together, you're going to have chaos at some point in time.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have 5 children, a wife, and a dog. My house is never quiet.
I can vouch for that.
Yes. If he comes by, it's like he stands at the door because I think he's just begging to leave at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think where we are different in a lot of what we do is, aside from even being a parent, once you find your liferness in this, once you realize okay, this is what I'm dedicated to, you find your lane and you stick to your lane and you try to teach people the best that you can.
Yeah.
So.
And I really believe you do that by valuing each other, you know, for what you're good at. I've worked with some pretty tough, what you would consider tough clients that are tough to make a relationship with, right?
Yes.
But I've never not been able to find something I value in that person. And not that I don't go out to the phone like, oh gosh, I'm not answering that right this minute, right? Because I know what that's going to be. But if you can do that and value the people we serve, but also value staff and value the DSPs that are out there, and I think that's a really important role for SSAs, is that their job is equally to support DSPs. That might not be a very as it is, because we can't do anything. SSAs can't do anything if we don't have a DSP that's that knows that we're behind them and that we're working on it. So,
and I swear, COVID has kind of changed that. I recognize and see a difference of appreciation in the last year than I think I've ever seen throughout the field.
Good.
It was almost like a shunning type of thing in the past. No, they're not smart enough to go to college and be in my spot. They need to listen to what I say, versus knowing how much work you have to put in there. In the house. And
you guys are there. I mean, you're there doing it. And that's what I'm like. I mean, I value SSAs and their job, and I've done it. I know what it's like. And I value parents. I've done it. I haven't done the DSP thing quite as much, right? But, the parenting helps a little bit. I certainly understand. Plus, God forbid, I've got a system down with my son, but if I have some friends over of his that happen to have, some kind of disability and stuff too, I see what it's like. I'm like, wait a minute. That's not how we do things here, Similar to my other children that when they had friends over, I was like, oh, wait a minute. We don't do things like that. But I do think that it's so important to value and find that. I mean, I found the last couple of years I was working at Lucas County that the best thing I could do was showing up at the house, handing out, writing thank you notes to the DSPs when stuff goes on, giving them buy one, get one coupons so that if so and so wants to go out to Bob Evans, you got to buy one get one free. The staff can get a free meal out of it, right? Like those kind of just little things. What can I do to make your job easier? That is so important. It goes so long. They will stick with people. If you feel valued, you stick through the hard times.
Value is a big deal.
Yeah,
Very big deal.
And it can't be through the wages. We know that, right?
We kind of just discussed that a little bit yesterday, and it's sad. But before I get off topic there, I just had a thought, because when you brought up difficulties in working with individuals, I got a story.
Oh gosh.
There was an individual I worked with at some apartments. I was already managing one house. And this was a behavior house. I had 2 individuals already in it. And again, I say the word behavior just to say that these were more difficult people to work with. The management team saw how well I was doing with that, and they said, hey, guess what? We'll give you a little more, and if you take on this other individual. I said, fine, let me go ahead and meet this individual. And we meet, we kick it, and we were having an awesome time. I take on the position. A few months go by. I see why it was very difficult to not only staff this individual, but to keep like a manager in there. It could be very daunting. Well, one situation, and I look back and I probably could have handled some things differently myself. As we all have our personal things going on, I was probably going through something that day, and I was just kind of fed up with the same monotony. And that's why I'm in this field, because I didn't like monotony. And the situation escalated to this person pulling out their whole air conditioner, throwing it, punching a glass window, taking the glass, throwing it at me. I'm in the hallway trying to, close the door. I'm on the phone with 911, pushing and opening back. He sees that he can't get to me. So he picks up a piece of glass and he goes
to hurt him.
Straight into his forearm, just slashing and slashing. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, this was the worst situation I've ever been in at that point.
Yeah.
And I'm almost shitting myself, because I'm like, oh my God, he's going to mess around and kill himself. Like, what do I do here? Luckily enough, I still had 911 on the line. They're taking the report. The ambulance was not too far away. Thank God. They get there. He kind of calms down, because now I think it clicked to him like, whoa, I didn't mean for it to go this deep. So they come, the police, soon as he saw the police, he calmed down. And he went with them willingly. They wrapped him up. And as we're sitting there, he's in the back of the ambulance. I'm sitting right at the bottom, writing my report. He says, Tony, I'm sorry, that was stupid. I said, yeah. Like, why would you cut yourself like that? He was like, I was mad at you. I was like, but hurting yourself isn't going to make it better. He said, well, I couldn't hurt you. I couldn't get to you. I almost felt bad that he couldn't kick my ass. So, the next day, we had pizza together and everything else, and it was water under the bridge, because I knew it was mental illness. I knew what was going on, but it was, a true eye-opener of what our staff have the potential to go through.
Oh, and just honoring like that you went through that and watched that. You need time to like decompress and think like, what could have I done better? Oh my gosh, what ifs, like that is just, and I just feel like DSPs and sometimes family members go through that stuff so much and aren't acknowledged for what the process was, like how, and SSAs have done that too. And there is a big push to really help people have some time to decompress after things like that and what you do. But, the bottom line is the next day you needed somebody in that house and you were there, wow.
I was tripping. I was like, y'all not going to keep him overnight in the hospital? Nothing? They sent him straight back home. And that's why we're working with doctors and nurses now, because I think our hospitals need more education on it. It is way too under-addressed on the type of individuals we serve, the time frame, and the safety checks and stuff like that. It's more like get them away.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up because my daughter, that's the doctor, she has a real love and passion for people with disabilities, and so she's going into family practice so that she can target lifelong span of people with disabilities and their needs. And we always have a hard time once people age out of pediatricians finding good doctors. But she's getting a real taste of that in the hospital setting in her residency of what it's like when somebody with a disability comes in and, she knows that there's nobody to take care, but like medically they can't keep people because of our insurance system and everything unless they really have some kind of immediate medical need. And it's so often people are left without, but again, during COVID, the DSPs, we were lucky enough to get approved that DSPs could come into hospitals with people to support them, even when other people weren't allowed to have any visitors. And we have some stories across the state of DSPs that have just talk about going above and beyond, quarantining for 2 weeks with a client with COVID in their home, spending time with them at the hospital overnight, like a parent would, just really big stories, let alone DSPs that actually contracted COVID. And
I talked to a lot of different agency providers throughout the city, and I think we were all kind of amazed on how our DSPs went to the next level. I think a lot of people, granted you had a few who weren't the best, but for the most part, I think everybody went ahead and, strapped up the boots, put on their gear, and did what was needed and dedicated themselves to it.
Yeah.
So shout outs to everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think everybody and value them. There's been great stories, and like you said, it's way outnumbered. The ones that, and those people that it didn't make, it probably was more of an issue of what was going on in their own life. You said it just now in your story, like who knows what was going on when they went home, when they left the office, that they couldn't really pull it out for the other person, So, I think we have an opportunity that relationships could be improved between county boards, providers, folks, because this has been one of those kind of, just like if you go through any kind of tragedy, it bonds people. Yeah. And it's been a year-long somewhat tragedy. As long as we don't kill each other during it, we're good to go, right? It's all good.
And before I forget, your daughter, she'll definitely start watching our Medical Mondays.
Oh.
And she should actually get a hold of Craig, who's our doctor.
I would love that.
He trains other medical professionals
to
handle people with intellectual delays and so on and so forth.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, she's in Columbus. I'll tell her to tune in.
Yeah.
How fun. That's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we just started the new series, so it's actually pretty awesome. I was in here filming it like a week ago, and he's got some really good stuff out I never thought of. It's amazing what they're doing.
Paul's going to be a doctor in no time.
Yeah.
Go for it.
It's easy.
Right. You listen in and watch some Grey's Anatomy, boom, you're a doctor.
That's right.
That's how
Absolutely.
it works.
Absolutely. What is it? Charge to 300.
Yeah.
That's like,
just go.
That's a family joke in our house all the time. No matter what you have wrong with you, you charge to 300. Grey's Anatomy. So.
But you have a unique perspective because you work in the field. You have a child with a disability, and it's kind of funny hearing you talk about this. I'm often woken up in the morning to angry parents calling my wife, just like I hear her phone ring, and I'm like, I'm getting out of here because there's a whole bunch of yelling going on. So it's crazy how it's a weird job being like an SSA because you're like almost like customer service, but you're also like a social worker, and it's such a strange thing. So maybe for people listening that aren't really sure what an SSA does, maybe you could describe that a little in detail.
Sure, that'd be great. It's actually, I just I think that seems to be an ongoing trend. Everybody wants to know that. First and foremost,
I'm sorry. Didn't I tell you that the job is very? It's something where my wife even said this to me because people used to ask me, Tone, what do you do for a living? And I would have this long spiel. I provide services for people with developmental disabilities, but we encourage And she hit me with something that one of the people that I listen to on a lot, of occasions, and she was like, if you can't sum up what you do in one sentence and that's less than 5 words, you don't even know what you do. And I said, damn, that is a good point.
Yeah.
So
I need to work on that.
It is a huge issue. In fact, this year, before the pandemic hit, one of my missions at my job at the Ohio Association of County Boards was to reach out to colleges and see, like, nobody goes to school to be an SSA, right? And nobody goes to school to be a case manager. But yet the field, if you look at children's services, case management, even mental health, like locally, community, ZEF, Unison, Harbor, case managers, and then the County Board of Developmental Disabilities case managers, the number of jobs that are out there are amazing, how many. And they all really look very similar in the fact that they don't actually give people, so in the case of the disability world, we don't provide any direct service to people with disabilities. What we are is kind of a middleman to Medicaid dollars, sometimes, a lot of times, of how to help a guardian or a parent or an individual decide what kind of services will make their life as independent and, good as possible. And so there's a lot of there's kind of like this accountant thing going on because you have a certain amount of money that's available and you got to figure out the best ways to spend it and make sure that the services that are authorized are given. So you kind of have that kind of auditor. But then you also are really a service coordinator, meaning looking for community resources, providing connections to people, like if they don't understand how to get into Social Security, job and family services, those kind of things. So you really have to have it could be the why, how would the why serve a person like my son, a parent might ask, we can't take him to the Y because he'll have a temper tantrum. And then we say, have you been to a Y lately? Doesn't have anything to do with the disability. It's just, that's what they do. So you kind of like pump them up. It's going to be okay. And then you're like you're also kind of that social worker / almost more for the families to give them an outlet to talk about their concerns and help guide them. And sometimes the individuals, obviously, we're trying to coach them up and get them excited about their life and wanting to try new things. But there is I always say you need to be a good SSA, which wasn't necessarily. You need a very much of a mix of an A personality and a B personality. You need to be detail-oriented. You need to understand financial and rules and policies. And then you need to be creative and out of the box and a good listener. And there's not very many people like that.
No.
It's and we really could use some training at the college level for people and really some notoriety and actually just like the DSPs, I want them to feel valued. I think that SSAs and case managers across need to, it shouldn't be viewed as an entry-level position. I mean, it should be a career because there's some people that are really good at it. And so we're reaching out. I actually did reach out to the University of Cincinnati and to see if they have any kind of programs that they do have a certificate in disability studies. But again, I'm looking for that case management role.
Right.
And like I said, I would need a partner. When I worked at the board, I was the B personality, and I had to find friends that were A personalities to help me with that part of the job. Nobody can do it all, So I always have said it would be a great shared position between two. You need the creative juices and, rules are more of guidelines. That's kind of how I always feel. It's all about the intent. And then you need the person that really understands, all that yucky stuff.
Yeah, and I've noticed that when you have teams like that, things work so much smoother.
They do.
Way, way better because we have certain individuals at certain teams, and it's like when we get together, it's just creative, and it's very you're leaving with something accomplished.
Yeah.
And being that the team was structured so well in the beginning, the meetings are no longer than really 30 minutes.
Right. Well, that wasn't my meeting.
No.
Never has a meeting been held that's not 90 minutes with Lisa. So.
Well, If they are longer, it's because I know the SSA is trying not to go back to the office. So,
you're caught on to my track. Stopping to get donuts, making everybody happy.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
No, I agree. Yeah, it is. There is a lot, and I think that's something that people that idea of listening to families and giving them time to speak. I think one of the biggest things when I was thinking about your specific question, because I get sidetracked, was that I would love for SSAs and case managers to realize the value in just listening to families and letting them know that they're being heard and not giving them the answers to their problem.
Right.
Because we don't have the answers. I mean, people have tough lives. There are kinds of things. But there really is value in just being there to be a sounding board and listening, and then whatever information you do have, certainly giving that out. But a lot of times SSAs don't really see, they feel so overwhelmed by the problems of their families and the individuals they serve that they kind of get paralyzed, right? And they just are like, I can't talk to that person because like that, I don't have anything to tell them.
Right.
And it's the same thing with our clients that we worked with. I mean, I could just de-escalate somebody having a bad day by just letting him talk to me on the phone for 30 minutes, as an SSA. And I didn't have to do anything. But we kind of are in this world that, like, they call for the need and we solve that need. And that's not really life. Like, we don't...
Solving problems is not everyone's supposed to be thing. Especially if we're doing what we're supposed to do. If we're doing what we're supposed to do, we're supposed to be giving most of our individuals the tools to do it themselves.
Right.
I was told way back early on when I first started that the less you work, the more work you did. So
right.
The more that you can get it in, let's say you have somebody who doesn't know how to tie their shoes, and you're tying their shoes for them every single morning. Now, 6 months go by, you start teaching them little tricks every time to help with that. By the end of the 6 months, if you don't have to tie their shoes for them anymore,
That's right.
You did what you were supposed to do.
Work yourself out of a job, Tony.
Exactly.
That's what I always tell people. Don't worry. There's always more people to teach, to work with. You don't ever have to worry about it. I always said, in a perfect world, you wouldn't, we wouldn't need to be here, right? But we always will. I mean, there's always going to be people that are going to need help, but
Right.
it definitely is that idea. And I think that's the hardest thing for folks to get, that switch over from what I call more of that rehabilitative, like a nursing home mentality where you're just kind of like caretaking compared to, sorry, hoping I messed that
You're
up.
fine.
Compared to the idea of getting somebody excited about their life and wanting to do more things on their own. That's really what we really want, is to like help people find the value so that they can feel proud and valued. And it might be tying their shoe, and it might be getting a community job, or hooking up with friends and getting to the point where, you're just, you're hanging out with your friends on a Friday night instead of hanging out with your staff on a Friday night, right? And the staff get 2 hours off. Woohoo,
Yeah.
Change of shift, that's the goal. So,
Yes.
Case management's a crazy, crazy job. And there is no good training for it. I mean, my training was education and speech and hearing therapy. Most people go into social work and end up there. A lot of educators end up there. Like people that came out of the school systems might go into case management. But there is no... And team facilitation, that's probably my other big passion. Like, a team meeting is an opportunity to build those relationships. And if your case manager, whoever's leading that meeting, if they're not engaging and good at leading a meeting, that's the place that you lose any relationship you possibly could have had. Like, you're sitting around a table and everybody's like...
Right.
Oh my God, and they're all on their phones, and all this stuff. And I'm like, granted, it probably shouldn't be 90 minutes, but if you can have a great meeting for 45 minutes and develop a relationship, your job the SSA's job is going to be so much easier because, people are going to feel like they can call you, check in with you, let you know how things are going, not be scared of you, that whole thing. That's super important.
Yeah. It always makes me feel bad when I hear a staff or something say, "Oh, the SAS coming over, the Guardian's coming over." Like, well, why are you so scared? Like, now I need to come see, why are you so nervous? Like, I'm the type of person that I don't like having to hide the rules and regulations.
Yeah.
If most people who do not stay at Friends for life is because they didn't like the rules and regulations. We don't hide things. If it's a MUI, it's a MUI.
That's
we
right.
call. If it's something that needs retraining, we retrain. We do what needs to be done. I think there are too many people with like blinds or shutters over their eyes on the facts. Like,
too worried about how it's going to look, what somebody
Yeah.
might think if we say that. I just had a conversation this morning or yesterday about something at the state level that we were talking about, counties not wanting to have families appeal services, right? Like they want to keep it, to the county. And I'm like, but appeals are just like MUIs. Like that's
Yeah.
how you learn that
Exactly.
you're either not serving, you're not making good decisions as you move through, or you are, and it's upheld as you move up. Like it lets you know if you are following the rules and all that kind of stuff, and if there needs to be new training or new programs developed or whatever. And if you never let anybody appeal a decision, then you'll never know if you were, and I'm like, we've been telling providers forever, every once in a while an MUI is not a bad thing. But do we live that way too as a county? At county, we have to imagine that sometimes we don't know what we're doing with a service.
Yeah.
And maybe we should be
that.
doing things a little bit different. And I'm not talking about Lucas County in general. I'm just talking about in general.
Yeah.
It's like that idea that I think when you were talking, I was thinking transparency. That is such an underused word. I mean, the importance of people being transparent about what they're good at, what they're not good at, what they need help with, what they don't understand. Because if we all are transparent and say, geez, I don't really understand what you're talking about, all of a sudden you'll get clarity and you'll be able to do what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
So
That's funny. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Man, yesterday I got a call from somebody who owns another agency, and he was like, "Man, Tone, I'm just having a tough time keeping, staff at a certain rate. Like, and it's kind of one of those things. And we even talked about this with Sarah when she was here. A lot of people try to keep it under the rug on how much they're really paying folks just for that competitive edge. But we need to really understand, like, it's not going to be the quarter, the 50 cents, or even a dollar that really changes a person's long-term life. And that's what we need as, I guess almost as a society, to explain to our DSPs that, for one. And if you are in it for the long term, after we create the services for the individual, now we march and we fight to get things changed where it needs to be. And that's through policies and through our government.
Yep.
But it seems like an uphill battle, but I think we're going to get there. And I think the podcast and, a lot of the things that we're doing at Friends for Life is going to help blow that door open.
Absolutely. Well, I would love to team up with you guys. I never understood, because I am that type B, like all about relationships and quality and out of the box. But with my, I've learned a lot more about the state, the reasons why we're where we're at with rates and all that kind of stuff. I've had to force it on my new job. And it's really interesting to see like why we're where we are in Ohio compared to other places and all that, and why we use Medicaid and how the local county dollars affect all that. So it's been a really interesting learning experience for me that I'm still working on. But I mean, let it be known that at the state level, I mean, everybody is fighting constantly for an increased rate. I mean, people understand that. It's really just figuring out, like you said, I mean, we have to have a great service to sell when we do that. And then it's just trying to figure out a lot of different things. But I think you're right. I think there could be improvement in it. And I think that there's probably better ways that we could be doing it as we move through it. And it's also about, what else can we do in the meantime to help provider agencies that might not be specific to the rate that, there's a lot of other ways to incentivize and help. But, there's rules with Medicaid of what we're allowed to do around that kind of pay. But can we think out of the box and think of other ways that could help provider agencies so that they could pay more, so they didn't have as many overhead costs, so they didn't have, so it'll be interesting
It will be.
this post-pandemic period
Right.
until the next pandemic. So
Yeah.
Well, hopefully not. Maybe not another 100 years go by.
I know
we
somebody
can get
said
another
today,
one.
well, we know there will be another pandemic. And I'm like, not in my lifetime. There
Right.
better not be. I'm definitely going out on the next one. I mean, if I didn't.
Look, no vaccine, no nothing for me. Just give it to me raw.
Well, I don't know if you're allowed to talk on it, but what's your thoughts on the new rate increase that they just announced the other day?
I mean, I don't know. It's not enough. Is that is that it?
That's true.
It's not enough. I think we all know that. I wasn't involved in a lot of the. That was in the works for quite a while. And it has been. Everything I've learned with Medicaid, everything is in the works for a very long time before anything happens. But I do know that the counties are, and the state are all very strong advocates for HPC providers across the state in figuring out how to make this situation better. And I don't, there's some COVID pandemic funds that you guys are all waiting on, right? Like that has been sent to the Department of Medicaid and CMS, and we're all sitting here like this waiting for
Before
those
they come
incentive.
through, yeah.
As of yesterday, it still hadn't come through, but it seems like it's being accepted. It just has more to do with the political bureaucracy at the federal level. That's a big shocker.
There's
So-
never any problems up there.
Well, I don't know what. I mean, I'm glad anytime there's a rate increase. I mean, I think we all are. There still is something that we haven't uncovered yet about how to make this make more sense. That's all I know, because getting it to the DSPs is important, right? Like, but at the same time, we can't bankrupt our system. I mean, we're using tax dollars, we're using federal dollars. I mean, every time that we do that, our taxes going to go up. Everything's related to the Medicaid. So it's like you can complain about how much you pay in taxes, or you can complain about your wages. I mean, it's
Why not both?
Because honestly, that's all that will happen.
Yeah.
If it boosts it up, it's going to have to reflect somewhere. I mean, you and I, we joke about this all the time, Paul. Free ain't not free.
There is no such thing as free. Yeah.
So somebody's going to be footing the bill somewhere.
It's, as long as we're in a Medicaid-run system,
Yeah.
that's where we've got a big dilemma to handle. Which is probably bigger than most of us. But rest assured, I'm always on the phone with other states trying to figure out, well, how do you do it?
Yeah, you're
how do you
right.
do it? And, like I said, we got to find other ways that incentivize and build respect for the position besides the wages, because that's going to be a long-standing issues. But, I think like you said, the pandemic kind of separated the boys from the men, the girls from the women. And you find out the people that were here because they really wanted to be here and they're really committed compared to people that maybe, it wasn't a life calling. And so hopefully we'll have some good services going forward.
Funny side note, I was, when it happened, the whole pandemic really first started, there were at least like 2 or 3 people who decided to resign, and we were just about to give bonuses. I was like, let's wait one more week. And then one more person left. I was like, yep, now we can
There
give
we
them.
go. There you go.
So it's like sometimes we shit on our own blessings. And it's all because we want what we want. And what I used immediately for the first set of our bonuses that we gave was the funds to start our ADS. I looked up and because I forwent like holiday bonuses the previous year, because we were going to start the ADS, and all those funds were going to be used to, spruce up the ADS.
Right.
And I looked and I was like, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
So we used those funds and along with some extra to really make sure that people were able to be safe and comfortable for at least a little bit.
That's
while
great.
we have all this fake money.
Yeah.
But that's another
Fake money.
that's a whole nother conversation.
Pseudo money.
Right.
I plead the fifth.
So Lisa, what new books have you read?
Oh God, I I don't read books.
Hey, are you an audio lady?
I am an audio lady,
Dang.
and
That's this guy.
and podcasts.
Yep.
I'm a big one for the podcast. I love to listen to that, but I feel like my life is a book, and I'm totally entertained by it at all times. So I was part of this book club, and I read The Vanishing Half. I think that was like one of the top sellers. It was a very interesting book. I also read White Fragility. I'm very humble in my inability to know what I'm supposed to do as a white woman in my 50s who leads a very privileged life.
Very, very smart thing.
Yeah,
Because there's so many people who don't understand.
So I have read some of those up there, and tried to gain some understanding of how I can manage to not traumatize people on a regular basis, which is what I was probably doing most of my life.
A book like that on the same realm is called The Sum of Us by Heather McGee.
I think that's on my list.
Yeah, I just had to pull it up myself because I plan on getting that.
Yeah.
I'm reading Barack's right now. It's a pretty good one.
Michelle Obama, Barack, they are my podcast king. I mean, if I can find a podcast where they're on it, I'm there. That's my love. I have a quite a liberal side to myself.
Hey, I think we all do.
Yeah.
In spirit, we really all have liberal sides, and we all have conservative sides.
And we all like
Yeah.
our money. We all like our money. There's that balance between
most
that.
people need to stop acting like you just have to be one or the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, we are a melting pot of just screwed upness. So we need to accept that screwed upness and make it better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's really a big thing that the Ohio Association of County Boards, along with myself, have felt really strongly about getting better representation in the county boards of all people. It has been not necessarily well represented of the people that we serve,
right?
And whether that has to do with race, culture, sexual orientation, whatever it is, we're kind of an old boys club, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And so I that has been the OACB annual conference had a lot of talks on equity and inclusion. And before the COVID, we were really going to have this major. That was kind of going to be the main thing for 2021. And of course, COVID came and it got kind of fit in with other things, but yeah, it's a big priority for us to help in recruiting a more diverse workforce, along with just being more humble and inclusive in our discussions about things and stuff like that, because we're not serving the folks we serve because we don't represent them very well.
Right.
So it's not real popular everywhere. I don't know. We'll see. But that is definitely a big priority for us. And I really feel strongly about it. So, it's hard because you got to get candidates. How do you get, it's not just about HR. It's also has to do with that. Like, is it something that, people from different backgrounds really want to do, that they think they can do, like it's not a lot of money. It's not like we're out there making money in our old boys club here in the county boards, but
truly not. Even like people even look at me as I don't spend a whole lot of the money I get is actually from residuals from other investments that I made with the money that I got. I'm just really good with money. I'm not banking off of these individuals as much as people might think.
No. And neither are county boards. I mean, the money that they need to support the number of people with disabilities across Ohio is just huge. And knowing that at any time Medicaid could tell us they're not doing it anymore, right? At the federal level. It could just so yes, there has to be money ready to keep supporting people. And that's what it's for. And Ohio is blessed with the county board system compared to other states. So I'm very appreciative of the county boards and what they do and how they handle a lot of that kind of part of it. But because it's weird, the Medicaid system is only in the last 20 years that we've really relied on Medicaid. Before that, we were doing things, with all local tax dollars. And so it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Well, we're pushing an hour here.
Right.
So what?
90 minutes. That's what we do in this
90 minutes. Yeah. So we got another half hour to go. No. Before you head out, one last question I'll ask, and we can end on this, is say, perfect, you had the power to control everything with the flip of a switch. What's kind of like one major change you'd like to see in, not even the like federal, state, local level, just like in the disabilities field as a whole, or even any aspect of it? What would you like to see changed to something that you could just make it better?
Make it better. You know, I think it goes back to what we started the podcast talk about, and that is that it's really about the community's perception of people with disabilities, and realizing, you know, if I could just have people realize that, you know, there's people with disabilities who have, you know, that understand sarcasm. They might not be able to read, they might not be able to add math, but they can banter right there with you, right? Like they you know, they have gifts and talents that are amazing. I mean, I know people that are photographers who, you know, need a lot of assistance in other ways, but can actually are right up there with some of the best photographers in the, you know, United States. I'm going to give a shameless plug for the end of it.
Cut it.
For the, you know, not knowing how to help the community to see people with disabilities in a light, in a realistic, real, somebody I would want to, you know, sometimes hang out with and sometimes say, slam the door in their face and be like, you're an asshole, right? I'm not saying they should love everybody. I just, they should get to know people and give them the benefit of the doubt, and assume competence always, right? That's a big one. But I helped the Lucas County Board of DD develop something we call the Community Film Fest about 8 years ago. And it was all for in the area of showcasing people with disabilities just living their lives and doing things that everybody does.
Right.
You know, whether it's going to college, whether it's going to work every day, whether it's being an artist, whatever it is. And so we kind of, out of a very crazy conversation, my old supervisor, head of whatever, Marianne Mader and I, and we just had a brainstorm and said, what if we had people give amateur videos to us and we would, you know, maybe help them edit them or create or whatever, and we would kind of like highlight and make it a free event to the public, where they could just come and see cool, fun movies that are 5 minutes or less that just show how cool, you know, there's just people out there, because like we don't have buildings anymore the way we used to have a big building, right? Like, so like, what are you guys doing there at the county board? And it was saying that, you know, we're helping people just live their lives is what we're doing. And so we've had 8 years of that Community Film Fest. This year it will be on April 25th.
Nice.
We're doing it virtually. So there is a website, communityfilmfest.org. And there's also a Facebook page. You have to put in the Community Film Fest on Facebook. But, and we'll be doing it virtually this year, which is sad. We usually do it at like the Mommy Indoor, or we've done it at the Valentine in the past. And it's always on Oscar Sunday, which is April 25th. And we kind of like run it like that. It's free and open to the public. Anybody that submits movies, or anybody that helped somebody submit a movie, maybe a parent, a provider, family members, and we've they get to come. We have the front rows reserved. News is there usually covering it, and then we just do it like we model it after any film festival, where we have categories. We show anywhere from 12 to 20 movies, and there's awards for, you know, each category. So it's been an amazing experience, and we've actually developed a professionally assisted category because we linked with Film Toledo, who saw some really great folks that had some real abilities in either photography, acting, ideas, writing, that kind of stuff. And so they've linked. And so we have that category, and we've had some amazing movies out of that category come out the last 3 or 4 years. So, you know, I would strongly suggest checking it out. But that kind of sums up for me. I have to be really careful. Sometimes I worry that Community Film Fest is going to go down the road of inspiration porn, where it's like, oh, isn't it cute? Because, you know, she's in a wheelchair and she still, you know, went to college or whatever it is, wrote a book, you know,
we
whatever.
Need quality.
Yeah. So we try really hard to help the folks that do submit things to make it really not be that. But the important part is that the community see it and realize, you know, what a great value folks with disabilities bring to our community. So, So that's probably one of my most exciting things. And if I could figure out a way to just like snap those fingers, it would be that people would just be like, you know, just like that open future learning, you know, like you would never tell somebody like, oh, isn't that great? You're buying toilet paper for yourself. I mean, no. You shouldn't have to have somebody interpret what somebody out in the community says to you, you know?
Right.
It should just be like, great, dude, can I join you for a beer? That's what they should be asking, you know? Like, you want to go play pool? You know, those are the kind of things that community members should be saying. So
absolutely.
I think that would open up so many opportunities for people.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming and coming to our new studio and hanging out with us and chilling and talking. So,
except for that Michigan stuff.
Go blue, everybody. Go blue.
Go ND.
I'll edit that part out. No.
There you go.
But thanks, Lisa. And hopefully we can have you back again someday. It's been great.
Definitely.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this episode of the Friends for Life podcast here on YouTube. If you can, before you go down there, hit that subscribe button. I want to take a minute to thank Lisa Combs for coming on and sharing her awesome stories, both personal, professional, and we really hope you do check out the film festival coming up here soon. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time.